Hi, I'm Jeff Sturgis from Whitetail Habitat Solutions, and I want to go over some critical basics. And they're basics, I say basics, but what I do for a living, one of the things I do is I design whitetail properties around the country, close to 1,500 now in 26 states since '05. So I've been on a lot of parcels and I get to see a lot of hunting setups and talk to hunters about what's worked, what hasn't, let alone all the stuff that I do for myself and my friends and my family for hunting. And when it comes to access, you know, everyone knows that access is critical. But what I see out in the field is that there's very few hunters that put those practices into play correctly and really understand what it takes to have great access. We're talking about a blind here. You can see the redneck behind me that's hidden in the brush. And what's interesting about this setup is that it's on a food plot, and you'd think it'd be pretty invasive. You know, I talk about blinds on food plots, it's really tough. Well, for one, this is a small hunting plot. We have a big food plot over here. We have ag fields over here. So the deer are really passing through here to get to big food, whether it's out in ag or the other food plot over here to the side. So it's just a pass through. So that means it's a good setup where this isn't the end stop where deer are coming into this location and just setting up for 30 minutes and 40 minutes and I can't get out or in without spooking deer. So it's just a pass through. So that's good right there. That makes this workable. But we have to be able to get in and out of the blind without spooking deer. So critical, like all our blinds and stand locations, that we're screened off. Doesn't matter if we're using the elevation of the land, change of elevation, ditches, ridges, whatever it might be, or brush, planted brush. In this case, we have a tunnel of switchgrass to come through that's mowed in the backside. We have this giant wall of briars where deer don't bed and they don't stay, too thick for them. We have a mowed trail coming right down here behind Dylan, and we go right into the back of this blind. And you can see when we come to the back of this blind, it's just encased in brush. Now, obviously we'll talk about the screening here in a second, but you have to be able to get in and out of your blind without making any noise. And so that's where someone could access their blind correctly, they could have it hidden, but then there's a snap or a squeak or a tinge when they get into the stand, and that will spook deer. Even to the point where I've actually gone into a stand location, brought my bow up into the stand, hit something metallic, made a noise, knowing that the buck I might be after should be bedded 100 yards away on the back side of the ridge. I know he could hear me, so what do? I get out and go to another stand location if possible, because I just potentially ruined my sit, and there's a good chance of it, because if that deer heard me, he's not going to come my way. You have to have quiet stands, quiet blinds, quiet ladders to get in. It's really tough because when I go out on public land, I'm using a climbing stand and it makes a little bit of noise, but that's not a stand I'd use on private land. It's more of a necessary evil on a public land. Even a saddle, tree saddle, you can make a little bit of noise getting in unless you have it really preset to get into that stand and not making noise at all. So in a case like this, especially when we're by food, I want to be able to get in and out of that blind without the deer hearing me in any way. That means this mowed trail right here. We come into the back side of this, we get into the blind quietly, and then we look out the window. We have a little trimming to do right now, but once we look out the window, then we can see the deer, and not until that point. Because if we can see them walking in, obviously they're not going to be there once we get into the blind. Now, we've chosen this redneck right here. We put it on a 5-foot stand. We have gray dogwood growing right around in front of this, almost like a U all the way around, a very thick cover and briars. What we don't want to do in a case like this is we don't want to lift that blind 5 feet above the cover and put it on a 10-foot stand. We want it in the top of the cover. For one, that just looks like part of the top of the bush, an extension of the bush. So that's a good thing, it blends right in. Imagine sneaking in here, not making any sound, and then the blind's 5 feet above the brush, and deer can watch us get in and out. Not only is the potential for making sound greater because we're climbing further into the blind, we can hit our gear, bow, gun against the stand, make some noise, but at the same time deer can watch us come in and out. So that's why we've purposely put this on a 5-foot platform so that we can get in and out of this stand without spooking a deer that might be 40 yards in front of us. Always think about that when you're getting into a stand location. So critical, but often so missed, that you need to get in and out of your stand, in and out of your blind without spooking deer at all. And we go through great lengths to do so. See the big bank of switchgrass we walk through here. We get into this blind, it's encased in brush, we walk behind it. This whole top is currently planted in switchgrass right here, just coming in. We've had a lot of drought like you probably have out there too. But we have this drought, the switchgrass is just coming in. That switchgrass will be as tall as it is out here, 6-7 feet tall. And again, we'll have this tunnel going right into the back of the stand. So we're very unlikely to spook any deer getting in and out of here, getting into that blind, and that's the name of the game. So critical. It doesn't matter if you're getting into a stand or a blind, you have to be screened. You have to have quiet stands, steps, blinds to get into so you don't spook deer. And really, you know, let's face it, we have lots of stands and blinds out here. And even then, it's critical for me. I don't want to waste the spot. If we make noise here, we spook a mature buck, he's gone. Mature being all relative. It might be a 5-year-old here, a 4-year-old, it might be a 2-year-old where you're at. The bottom line is if you spook that deer, he's not coming back to that area very soon. And even on a property like this where you have lots of stand and blinds locations, we can't afford to spook them, let alone if you have 20 acres or 40 acres and you have 1 or 2 stands. Let alone if you're hunting public land. It's the same thing. That's why you have to have hidden access getting in. You have to have quiet stands, even on public land. Use a lay of the land, use thick brush. Always think when you're walking to a stand location, that's still within cover, on the edge of cover. Then once you get in the stand or blind, now you can see your shots. You shouldn't be able to see your shots from 100 yards back where a deer could be standing in that shooting lane and spook and not come back. So think about that as you're accessing your stands, as you're setting up your blinds this year. Make sure you can get in and out without spooking deer. That involves them seeing you, hearing you, and of course, and everyone thinks about deer smelling you, but if they can hear you or see you, your hunt's done just the same as if they smell you. So make sure you have that hidden access into your favorite blind or tree stand this fall, and you'll have a better hunt not only this season, but take those plans, apply them to next year, and you'll have a great hunt for years to come.